Welcome to the Confidently Balance Your Hormones podcast. My name is Dee Davidson, and I'm a hormone health expert, master mindset coach, and multiple wellness business entrepreneur. I'm obsessed with helping you experience hormone balance, confidence, self-love, and live a life full of joy. I know we're about to have so much fun together, so thank you so much for pushing play today. And now let's begin. Hi, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Confidently Balance Your Hormones. This is your guide, Dee Davidson, board certified functional health practitioner. Today, we're going to talk about something that's made a huge difference for many of my clients' families. As you know, if you've been following, most of my clients are females. However, I get asked many times to help with the other members of the family, whether it be the gentlemen in the family, the kids, the teenagers, and I am always happy and open to help anyone because after all, we're all humans and have the same vital voids and healing opportunities. So I am always open to helping anyone who's really looking for more of a root cause or a holistic approach. Today, I want to talk about one of the tests that I do run often on other family members, which is the hair tissue mineral analysis or HTMA test. This is a really great test for looking at where the vital voids are and the healing opportunities. I describe it as taking your car to the mechanic and you hear a rattling noise or it's just not running the way that it used to, and you're like, I don't know what's wrong with it. This might be your body. You might be having headaches or fatigue or acne, whatever those things are. And they hook it up to the diagnostic machine and it comes back with a report that says, hey, these are the things we need to look at. Same thing with the HTMA test. You will clip some hair, mail that in, and then we can look at some patterns, some deficiencies, toxicity levels, and things like that, and work a plan around that. Again, many of you know me for working primarily with women, but this test applies to everyone. It can help us with our hormones, and our hormones, again, are our control panel. They control everything from your brain to your nervous system, your pituitary gland, your thyroid, your insulin, your reproductive organs. People think of hormones as your sex hormones, such as estrogen and testosterone. However, hormones are everything. So we can look at what's going on with hormones that can impact your energy, your sleep, your metabolism, blood sugar, all of that stuff, your digestion. And it's just such an easy test that can apply to everyone. And we run it for many family members as something that is inexpensive. And I will drop in the show notes the link to grab your tests. It ships out to you. You just clip some hair, as I said, and you'll be able to see a lot of detail that we're going to get into on this episode right now. So let's talk about the HTMA, which I think is one of the most valuable, non-invasive, inexpensive, and insightful tools, especially for kids. I remember with my son, he's now 13, but he had a lot of GI issues. Thank goodness that we've cleared those up. And matter of fact, he is the reason that I am a functional health practitioner. I visited one for his GI issues who was in a nearby town and was so impressed. And years later, when I was pondering what do I want to do with my life when I grow up in my early 40s, went back to the school that she studied at to do this. And so again, I know how brutal it can be to draw blood from kids and how scary it can be. And this is just like a haircut for a small child. I've had even toddlers do this test, and it gives so much information and data on what's going on in the body, whether it be a child, a teenager, or a full-grown adult. And here's why parents love it. Number one, it's non-invasive. There's no blood draws, no needles. It's just a simple hair sample, about 1 or 2 tablespoons of hair cut close to the scalp. Doesn't show. It's not going to be a big missing piece on the head. It's easy. It's stress-free. It's painless. It will provide a snapshot of mineral levels. Many people take multivitamins, especially kids. We have our kids taking these multivitamins. I remember as a kid taking those Flintstones. Wow, looking at the ingredients now, I don't know if they were different when I was a child, but scary. And we spend a lot of money on these random things that we give ourselves and our kids, and yet it's not targeted, and we might not even need it. We might not be absorbing it. It might have fillers or preservatives that are more harmful than the vitamins itself. And the biggest point I like to make is that most humans are actually deficient in minerals, calcium, sodium, magnesium, and are not necessarily targeting those. So we can look at what the mineral levels are in the body and see where we're depleted. What I try to do is look at where you're overdrawn or where your child's overdrawn and bring it back to just like your bank account balance and beyond so that we can really thrive. The body's thriving, it has those minerals. And if they're depleted, we also look at why. What is it? Is it stress? Is it we're not absorbing the food that we're eating because of lack of digestive enzymes? Why? We have to look at not only the depletion and bringing up to balance, but I also help you understand why the person is not having the right mineral levels. It also looks at toxic elements. So it looks at things over the last 3 to 4 months because we're looking at the root of the hair and what's coming through. It's not like going to get a blood test or a urine test. We can see patterns and we can see things like aluminum, mercury at lower levels. A true heavy metal test is a urine or a blood test, but this will give us indication of whether there is cause for concern and moving on to a bigger test. I know a lot of my clients who have children with autism, ADHD, learning disabilities, things like that, behavioral issues, they do wonder about heavy metal toxicity. And this is a good baseline to see, okay, well, what's coming through the hair? Because if it's coming through the hair, it's likely much higher through a blood or urine test. So we can look at that. And my favorite thing is that we can look at patterns. So we can look at patterns that tell us, do we need to be focused on blood sugar regulation? Is the thyroid possibly taxed? How are the hormones doing? We look at stress. Is the body stuck in fight or flight, which would put the body potentially into a state of breaking down or state of alarm? We look at the adrenals. So it gives us some patterns to look at as well, digestion, absorption of food minerals and things like that. So a lot of great patterns getting insight into all of that stuff and can help us to make a roadmap or a blueprint of what does the body need to support better sleep, better energy, behavioral issues, some kids getting sick all the time, ear infections, things like that. And it will help us look at the immune system, focus, moods, so many different factors that we can pick up on when we look at the hair tissue mineral analysis. And even growth, like I've had many kids that, they're just not growing, and we're looking at like, well, what's stressing the body out or what's preventing that from happening potentially, right? I'm not here to diagnose anything. I'm not a doctor. And I always make that disclosure on my podcast that this is informational and educational. You should always see your healthcare provider once we evaluate these pieces, but your doctor will never be able to run a test like this due to health insurance. They don't do it, they don't get trained in it. And so it is a great tool that we can use to ask more questions of your health provider and also focus on looking at where the gaps may be. And for parents, it just brings huge peace of mind. Instead of guessing or giving a random multivitamin, you get targeted, personalized support. It's really, really the first check engine light when we get a diagnosis at the doctor. And that is how our healthcare system works. It's basically not preventative, but when we are already in a state of disease, the stuff's been running the show for a long while. So this is your diagnostic check engine light. Like I said, I compare it to plugging your car into a diagnostic machine, and you might not see a warning light yet, but you can see the symptoms, right? The rattling, or if you're human, the headache or the tired, sluggish, the mood swings, things like that. And so we can see before it turns into a bigger problem. And for kids and teens, this is huge, right? You don't want to wait until they're totally exhausted or they're anxious, they're getting sick all the time and missing a lot of school. The HTMA really helps us be proactive many of my clients are just concerned, like in this day and age and environment, our kids are set up for failure with their health, right? They are on screens a lot more, video games. They are eating more processed food. I'd say with my teenagers, 13 and 15, I can control what I buy in the house. But once they leave the house, I know they're buying crap that, their whole life they've lived with this lifestyle, and I can send them educational videos and tell them, but they're going to do whatever. So this is a peace of mind as a parent to be able to say, all right, let me see what is, kind of the overall state of health through this HTMA, and how can I easily help support without saying, you can't have that bag of Doritos or things like that. Of course, we don't want them to eat it, but they've got to come to those things on their own. And we also don't want to create unhealthy mindsets around food or eating disorders and things like that. So just to give you a couple of examples of clients, I've worked with a lot of children in regard to the HTMA test. A quick story, my client brought me her 5-year-old who was an incredibly picky eater, super concerned about their child getting the right nutrition and all of that stuff. Obviously, they're growing beings, their brain is developing all of that. The child would basically only eat chicken nuggets, mac and cheese, and maybe a few fruits. So mom was worried and asked about a multivitamin, and I suggested that they do the HTMA because again, it's not an expensive test and it's non-invasive, and you might be missing something bigger. There's a lot of guessing. If you've been following me for a while, you know that my motto is test, don't guess. We don't want to just be in that cycle of trial and error and not feeling confident in our decisions. So we ran the HTMA and the results were really eye-opening. Low zinc, low magnesium, a lot of elevated aluminum. And this explained, right, the child's likely weak appetite, mood swings, even the reoccurring tummy aches. So with some gentle food shifts, some detoxing, we did some gentle detoxing, quality supplement, a quality probiotic, and trying to be more creative and fun with foods that they were willing to try. The child started sleeping better, less meltdowns, all the drama kind of, we always have drama with our kids, right? But it did come down from that elevated state. And the mother said, for the first time, I feel like I'm not guessing with what's going on. And with that client, we're actually getting ready to retest. I always say, every 3 or 6 months, it's a good point to make sure that the things that we're doing are working and things are improving, even though we can tell through symptoms clearing. It's nice to have the science and the data. I also work with a lot of teens because they can be some of the most difficult. So acne, right? Acne is definitely hormonal, gut health, all of that's tied in. So we look at that. ADHD, ADD, focus learning disabilities. We look at a lot of factors there that, like blood sugar regulation, toxicity levels, hormones, all of that. Work with a lot of teens and even young adults in their early 20s and things around those symptoms. I call them symptoms. I hate diagnosis because I do believe that we can shift diagnosis. I can't say cure, and I don't even diagnose anything. I'm not a doctor, but I do believe that the body can heal. So, another example is a teenage boy that I had with ADHD. And by the way, my son, who is 15, has ADHD, and we've really seen some miraculous changes the last few years in his focus and behavior and all of that stuff, which has been wonderful through some of this functional lab testing. His parents were just curious if there was a nutritional component or toxicities or what was going on. And the HTMA did reveal very high copper, low zinc, depleted magnesium, blood sugar imbalances, and things like that that can really impact kids who are already predispositioned to having struggles with attention and focus and mood and all of that. So we really worked on his diet, Put some supplements in there, but I'm not a person who's going to give you hundreds of dollars of supplements. We really have to look at personal responsibility and what's going on as much as we can with these kids because they are more challenging in the everyday lifestyle pieces. We supported detox. There was some detox that needed to be done there that was gentle. And within like a few months, really, his teachers noticed that he was more grounded, less reactive, and more able to, complete his tasks and sleep too. He was one of those kids that was having a really hard time unwind and go to sleep at night, night owl type, typical for ADHD. So his sleep really improved as well as anxiousness and things like that. This gave us some really good answers that we never got, or they never got in the pediatrician's office. So explained a lot about why this child was feeling the way that they did and gave, again, tools and helped the parents feel empowered and the child to feel empowered to make some shifts that were personalized. And everything I do is bio-individualized and it's personalized. So again, these are just a couple of the stories. I can't guarantee results. They vary from person to person. Everyone's situation is different, but starting with an HTMA can really give some insight. And the takeaway is that you get real answers about your child's nutrition and toxic load. You can stop guessing by just taking supplements. Supplements aren't the answer. They're no different than prescriptions. You're just throwing something at the body. You can identify healing opportunities early before bigger issues develop. And you get a roadmap or a blueprint for targeted, safe, and I want to say that word again, safe, holistic support for your child's health and well-being. So from babies to young adults, this test can provide really some great guidance through all stages of growth. In addition to, if you're an adult listening to this and you're like, I need this test, I think everyone really needs to add this to the annual tests, even though you can't get it through your regular healthcare provider. It's like getting a CBC done at your doctor. It's a really good check-in on where do I need to pay attention and how you can get started. So if you're curious about this amazing HTMA and what it could reveal for your child or even your partner or yourself, I've created two options and I'm going to put them in the show notes. So if you scroll down, you can certainly just click on the option and read more about it and get started. Or you can always shoot me an email at ddee@confidentlyloveyourself.com. Happy to answer any questions there as well. And I'll also put the link for a discovery session. So if you want to talk more about some of this, you can schedule a 30-minute session on there. Option one is to order the test at a special rate. It's 2 payments of $269, includes the test, plus you get my app, and you would pull up your test, the results, they mail you the test, you send in the hair sample, you have the test results within 3 or 4 weeks. You get the results, you pull them up next to my app, and I go through every marker. Say you have low magnesium, I teach you and empower you through showing you some of the different reasons that magnesium might be depleted or might be the opposite, might be high. Some of the ways that you can work on that marker, usually through lifestyle factors. Again, I'm not going to just push a bunch of supplements. And then you just work through each marker on your own. You can also schedule consultations in addition to that to support whatever. If you're confused about something or you want clarity, you can obviously schedule a consult with me. But that's the easiest way is 2 payments of $269. You get the app, you get the test included, and you can look at your results. You can also have this roadmap blueprint where you can fill out the different sections to be really clear on like, all right, this is what I do first, this is what I do second, this is what the priority is, how do I rebuild my child's foundational health and things like that. So that's option one, very popular, and that link will be below. Option two is if you feel like you're not an app person, you're a little bit nervous about doing it on your own, and you really want to be clear and have a strategic plan, I can help you with a personalized 30-minute session. Once you receive the test is included. You get access to the app still. So I know it's a lot of information and it takes time to go through it. You're not going to be checking all the boxes once you get the test in 30 days. It's going to take you some time depending on what the state of the person's health is based on the test, but you can access the app. So even after our conversation, you can go back in and look at all the markers and really understand, print out the workbook and all of that stuff, or do it online. And you'll also get a detailed recap email after our 30-minute session that kind of helps you see. I point out boldly what the vital voids are, what the healing opportunities are, so that you can go into the app and then kind of just revisit the things that we go over. And you have the opportunity one-on-one to ask questions about maybe a vitamin that your child's taking, or how often your child's eating meals, or is your child eating enough protein, or, detox, or any of those things, or additional testing that you might want done. And so if you'd prefer that, we can do the session and the test and the app for $698. It's one payment of $698. That's pretty comprehensive, and you will leave feeling empowered with either option. But some people just want me to lay it all out for them and have the time and the opportunity to have those questions answered. You also get 30 days of personalized support with option number 2. So you can message me, email me questions for 30 days as you're going back through the app or starting to adjust things in the person's lifestyle, supplements, things like that. You also get access to my supplement dispensary, which is not like going to CVS or even a vitamin shop. They are quality, practitioner grade supplements, and I pass on a discount to you. So you get a 10% discount on any supplements if they are needed. You get group support on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, you do get access to my exclusive VIP private group, and your friends won't see that you're in there. Questions that you ask in that group are always private. And you can also learn, I post in there and things like that. So you can find those links to order either way in the show notes, or just reach out via email, d@confidentlyloveyourself.com. This is really one of my favorite tools for families because it's simple, it's safe, it's powerful. You wouldn't drive your car without checking the oil, right? Or running a diagnostic. Isn't it a beautiful thing that you can look at your state of health through something so simple as a hair test and potentially avoid disease or your body breaking down in the future because you got ahead of it? So why wouldn't we also do the same thing for our kids' health? Thanks for tuning in today. I hope this gave you a new perspective on HTMA and ways you can support your kids, your family, and yes, even yourself. Until the next time, keep tuning into your body, your intuition, and your health with confidence. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Confidently Balancing Your Hormones. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd love for you to share it with a friend and also hit follow at the top of this podcast. If you have a couple of minutes and you can leave a quick review, it will help other women in need find this podcast. You can find me on Instagram at confidently_love_yourself. I would love to stay connected and hear from you.